Hey there, Dan here again. Let me ask you this question. Do you like reading technical reports? Oh, some of the more masochistic engineers among you will probably say, yeah, I love reading that stuff. But for the most part, I suspect you don't. And if you don't like reading that stuff, you can probably imagine that your evaluators out there of your proposal aren't going to like reading that stuff either. Now imagine having to read, say, 10 proposals, all on the same topic, all following the same outline, all written by people who don't like writing proposals. Is it any wonder that evaluators don't like their jobs? Most technical and business writing can be hard to read because when we do that kind of writing, we think we have to become different people. We step out of our personal selves and into a professional role. And this really affects our writing style. We go from plain speaking Bob and Kate to uber serious Robert and Catherine. Our language goes from, I really hated that movie because the main character was a jerk, to, there are numerous reasons why that movie failed to engage my interest as a viewer, not the least of which was the way that the main character was treated as an adolescent by her spouse, who himself was very unlikable. Huh? In other words, we tend to seriously muddy our writing when we switch into our professional writing mode. This tutorial is all about helping you unmuddy your proposal writing. It's called Add Clarity to Your Writing, or Get Rid of the Junk. First, let's take a look at what you'll learn in this video. I'll tell you how you can eliminate unnecessary words, write to express, not impress. Then we'll talk about how to keep sentences short and simple. I'll show you about how to use the meat cleaver on your sentences. And finally, we'll talk about how to avoid noun speak, which includes telling you what the heck noun speak is to begin with. Okay then, first thing I want you to do is to read this. Go ahead and pause the video. I want you to read this on your own. What do you think? Good writing? No? When did you have to start over? Did you ever get to the end? When did you stop reading and start skimming? Because that's what you probably ended up doing. I can't even read this without starting to skim about here when I get to the extent possible. That's because as an English language speaker, I recognize that there are way too many unnecessary words wrapped around the words that are actually conveying information. For example, the word extent, here and here. My filter clicks on when I encounter wordiness like this, and I start skimming the sentence to screen out the fluff. But there's so much junk here that my fluff skimmer gets clogged up, and I give up. That's what happens to you when you read stuff like this. That's what happens to the evaluators when they read stuff like this. Therefore, don't give them stuff like this. Let's take a closer look at this paragraph. In the first sentence, we don't need the word eventual. It's redundant. Its meaning is built into the word success. We also don't need the word expressed before needs. It's not really redundant, but the word is unnecessary. We also have to do something about local businesses in the area. Local and in the area is redundant. I'd go with local. Finally, what's with to the extent possible and at least need to be? To the extent possible adds nothing to the understanding of the sentence, nor to the words at least. Get rid of them. In sentence 2, we don't need with members of the local business community. We've already introduced these folks. Try something like area business leaders. Reduces redundancy and cuts down on words. I'd also get rid of the word goals in this string of words here. The community business leaders' needs and concerns are important, but I suspect that the client for this project won't want their views on project goals and objectives. The next sentence has the words, as a means of enhancing communication. They're unnecessary as well. It's filler. Cut those and start with, we will record comments and ideas. Also in this sentence, we don't need the words, such media as. Just say flip charts. In fact, why mention flip charts at all? Simply say we will record comments. And you don't need the words to the extent possible in the context of the meeting. I mean, what does this mean anyway? In the last sentence, we don't need the words the use of and from project team members and the capture of ideas and concepts as well as the associated commentary. These words offer too much detail and do not really help the evaluator assess our approach. Nor will we score any points from mentioning associated commentary. By the way, I didn't want to take the time to revise this here, but I do that in another tutorial called Eliminate Unnecessary Words, example. You should check it out. It's pretty short. The point here is to demonstrate the first step to adding clarity to your writing, which is to eliminate unnecessary words. Here are a few ways to avoid adding unnecessary words to your writing. Avoid needless adjectives. For example, the expressed needs of businesses. You don't need the word expressed. You also want to minimize setup words. For example, as a means of enhancing communication or in order to. These words don't add value to the communication that you're trying to make here. You want to make sure you eliminate redundancies. I'll give you some standard ones here. One is red in color. I mean, really? And in an easterly direction. I mean, east is a direction. So you don't need those. You also want to avoid unnecessary descriptors, such as is to a large extent dependent on. We add unnecessary words to our writing for a lot of different reasons, but one of the biggest reasons, I think, is that we think that it makes our writing sound more professional or even more sophisticated. I mean, after all, a simple declarative sentence like, "We will conduct a meeting of all stakeholders," sounds too simple. We should dress it up, right? Well, no, we shouldn't. Simple is best. Now, you've all heard about the KISS principle, right? Keep it simple, Sam. Readers want it simple. Ideas can be complex and sophisticating. Writing doesn't have to be. So, here's a big tip. Eliminate pseudo-sophistication. Here's some of the pseudo-sophisticated phrases we found in the paragraph we just dissected, as well as the associated commentary, as a means of enhancing communication. The eventual success of the plan is to a large extent dependent on meeting the expressed needs of the businesses. It is critical that an opportunity for discussion be provided to the area business community. And here's one I threw in from another proposal because I liked it so much. Given the importance of the riverine environment and Burns Bog, it is our full intention to have the plan developed on the basis of ecologic principles that do not impair the environment of these areas. Really? Riverine? Full intention? On the basis of ecologic principles that do not impair the environment? I mean, please. Yes, these words mean something, but they do not add to the understanding of the concept the writer is trying to sell in the proposal. And this takes us right to the way you can add clarity to your writing. Write to express, not to impress. Like I said before, we are often more concerned with how something sounds than with what it means. When we choose $20 words and wordy phrases to convey our ideas, we place the emphasis on the word choice and not on the approach we bring to the customer and the benefits that will go along with it. When you call attention to the sophisticated language that you're using, you distract the evaluator. So, here are some rules to live by when selecting which words to use. First one is, use simple language that is instantly familiar to your reader. Of course, this means KISS, keep it simple, Sam, as we talked about above. You also want to replace big words with small words. For example, use instead of utilize, or begin instead of commence. Here's one. Avoid the thesaurus. Don't pick augment when you can use increase. You want to use language that expresses your ideas clearly because the whole point is to communicate your approach and benefits, not to showcase your vocabulary. Let me show you some examples. Here's one that's the original of one that I found in a proposal. It will greatly facilitate our work if we can augment our staff by 3. Facilitate? Augment? Why pick these? Why not use simpler, more familiar language like, it will help us if we can add 3 people to our staff. Or even, it will help us if we increase our staff by 3. Note that each revision takes fewer words to express the same idea. Here's another. Fred O'Hara will monitor the activities of the team in his supervisory role and will address the coordination issues as they arise during the exchange of survey data amongst the design team. Aside from the obvious wordiness here, what's up with amongst? Okay, here's a revision. Our project manager, Fred O'Hara, will coordinate directly with the design team during the exchange of survey data. By using Fred's title as project manager, we can eliminate the words in his supervisory role that were in the original. Also, we can say simply will coordinate instead of will address the coordination issues from the original. We absolutely don't need as they arise in the original, and we can boot amongst from the sentence with genuine pleasure. A note here, using words like amongst will get the evaluators making fun of you. I've seen this happen. It sounds so pretentious. Just avoid words like this. Or like this. The recommended routes for ingress and egress will be clearly marked. And, my all-time favorite, we will conduct this task in the most expeditious manner possible. Ingress and egress are legitimate English language words, no question about it. So is expeditious. However, in a proposal they come across as pretentious and will provoke jeers and jokes among the evaluators. Instead, use simple words like, we will post enter and exit signs at the appropriate places instead of ingress and egress, and we will conduct this task quickly instead of, well, you know. Simple and familiar language puts the focus on your story. Unusual words and phrases, while legitimate English words, call attention to themselves and distract from your story. In a nutshell, use simple and familiar everyday words. If you want to show off your vocabulary, try it on your office mates, or better yet, your mom. She'll appreciate it. Evaluators won't. Now then, let's move to another obstacle in the way of clear writing. Read this, if you will. I'll ask the same question I did in the first example you read in this tutorial. When did you stop reading and start over? I get to about here, along with their comparative advantages. There's something not right with the flow of the sentence. Does the pronoun possessive there refer to ECOs or to NAFB staff? When I reread, because I have to, I discover that there has to refer to ECOs because there is plural and so is ECOs. But staff is singular. Okay, that works. But then I get to here, using proven analytical tools, and I get stuck again because the sentence is simply not flowing in the way I know an English sentence needs to flow. Is it me? Or is it the writing? Then I skim to the end and discover that, lo and behold, this is just one single sentence, and a 55-word sentence at that. The problem is that the author has tried to cram a bunch of related ideas into one sentence, and while the sentence is grammatically correct, it is all but unreadable. Which brings us to the next way you add clarity to your writing. Keep your sentences short and simple, and here's how to do it. Write in simple, declarative sentences. Declarative sentences in English are the sentences that form a statement. For example, we offer 3 types of road servicing material, period. They are X, Y, and Z, period. 2 declarative sentences, one after the other. And our first task will be to conduct a kickoff meeting. The agenda will include X, Y, and Z. Again, 2 declarative sentences back to back. Next, your sentences should be between 15 and 20 words long on average. And your paragraph should be 3 to 5 sentences long on average. Now, there's a handy way to check your writing to see if it meets these standards without having to count every word you write. It's the grammar checker on your word processor. This is a readout from Microsoft Word's grammar checker. Now, you'll first have to go into Word options and check the box that says Show Readability Statistics for this to show up. Then select a passage from your writing, in this case a paragraph, then run a spell/grammar check. This box will pop up when you're done correcting all the spelling errors. Note that it shows you the number of words, the number of paragraphs, and the average number of sentences per paragraph and the average number of words per sentence. It shows what percentage of the passage is in passive voice, and it gives you something called the Flesch-Kincaid grade level. This grade level number corresponds to the reading level expected of a student who finished whichever grade shows up here. In this case, the passage is judged as easily readable by someone who is halfway through the 11th grade or a junior in high school. You should shoot for a grade level of between 10 and 12. That makes it very easy for the evaluator to get through the document. All right? So, another way to make your writing easy to read is use the meat cleaver. Remember that 55-word sentence we just looked at a couple of minutes ago? Well, here it is again. Now, here's what it looks like after we took the meat cleaver to it and chopped it up into bite-sized chunks. Take a moment and read this to yourselves. Note that each sentence is short, simple, and self-contained. There's only one idea per sentence, and it is easily digestible in one pass. The evaluator will have no trouble comprehending your message. All right, I have one last tip for how to add clarity to your writing, and that is avoid noun speak. You probably haven't heard of this word before, but I know you know how to use it because I see it everywhere. Let me show you a definition. Noun speak words are verbs, for example, utilize, that have had tion, ent, or ence added to them. For example, utilize plus tion equals utilization. As I said, noun speak words are verbs that have essentially been converted into noun-like things. Oh, they're legitimate English words, but when you use them, you have to add words around them in order for your sentences to be grammatically correct. And that adds to the words the evaluator has to wade through. Here's an example. Once the alternatives have been determined, an evaluation process will occur and selection of the 4 top candidates will be made. There are 21 words in this sentence. The noun speak words are here and here. When you use the noun speak word evaluation in this context, you have to add the word process. When you use selection in this context, you have to add the word of. Now look at the revision. Once we have identified the alternatives, we will evaluate them and select the 4 top candidates. Same meaning, 5 fewer words. That's 20% fewer words. Plus, in the revision, we lose the passive voice, too. We also get rid of this stiff formal phrasing, will occur. We use noun speak when we want to add that pseudo-sophisticated, dignified feel to our writing. But as you can see, it just gets in the way. I mean, which style of sentence would you want to read over and over again in a proposal? Exactly. Here's another example. Project milestones will be updated based on the development of project objectives. The initialization of this process occurs during the project kickoff meeting. At the commencement of that meeting, representatives from the state and the project team will begin finalization of schedules and deliverables. This is much worse than those first examples I showed you. Each sentence has a noun speak word and its accompanying helper words. It's hard to read and it tires the reader out. Now, here's the revision. We will update project milestones during the project kickoff meeting. At that time, the project team, including state technical staff, will finalize schedules and deliverables. This is simple. Plus, you lost almost 1/2 the words, and you didn't lose any of the meaning. In fact, you made it a lot easier for the reader to get the meaning out of it because he doesn't have to wade through too many words. Okay, that's how to add clarity to your writing. Let's recap. First, eliminate unnecessary words. The only words you want in your proposal are words that help answer the RFP requirements and that persuade the evaluator that you know what you're doing and you offer clear and direct benefits. Next, write to express, not to impress. Remember that you are not scored on your ability to use a stunning variety of words. Keep your language simple and familiar. Next, keep your sentences short and simple. Don't try to cram every aspect of an idea into one long, unreadable sentence. And when you do find that you do have long sentences in your revision phase, use the meat cleaver on your sentences. Shorten them up, make them easy to read. And then finally, avoid noun speak. Let nouns be nouns and verbs be verbs. Believe you me, your evaluators will be glad you did. You can always send questions and comments via the form on the page. And don't forget to check out the rest of the videos. And until next time, happy proposaling.